Otto, 23 ans. Barbara Dagnan, 22 ans. Otto, 23 ans. Anne-Marie-Edouard, 21 ans. Barbara Dagnan, 22 ans. Maud Haviernik, Otto, 29 ans. 23 ans. Anne-Marie-Edouard, 32 ans. Maud Haviernik, Otto, 29 ans. 23 ans. Maryse Laganière, Edouard, 25 ans. Maud Haviernik, Otto, 29 ans. 23 ans. Maryse Laganière, Edouard, 25 ans. Anne-Marie Lemay, 27 ans. Maud Haviernik, Otto, 29 ans. 23 ans.
Tensei, Kwekwe, Sego, Anin, Eskina community, Sinakasun, Maingando Dam, Hatatakup, Saskatchewan, Eskazoni, Nadunjaba. Welcome everyone to the Women Won't Forget Vigil. And tonight I've been asked to do your opening. So I'm asking those ancestors that are gone on before us and those ones yet to come, and the Creator to come and be with each and every one of us today as we acknowledge all those women who have experienced violence, who have lost their lives to violence, and to be with us during this very hard time as we acknowledge all those women who have experienced this violence. And we ask that we will be comforted, even though this is a very difficult thing to do, but it needs to be done still, as violence still is strongly existing within all of our communities. For the Indigenous population, women are 12 times more likely to be victims of violence. Our people of color are 8 times more likely to experience violence. And our new immigrants coming into the city are 5 times more likely to experience violence. And we know that this is something that is existing, and we are here tonight to say that this violence must stop. We are here to be a support to one another and to never forget those who have lost their lives, to make sure that we bring acknowledgement to this issue, and that we stand up against it and work with each other to stop this violence. I had the honor and privilege of traveling with the National Inquiry into Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women for the last 2.5 years, being the spiritual advisor to Commissioner Brian A. Olson, one of the commissioners, and hearing the stories across Canada from coast to coast to coast of the number of women who experience violence, and not only women, but our 2S LGBTQIA people who experience violence at a much higher rate. And we are here tonight to say this violence must stop. We must treat each other with kindness and love and respect. Our women, our trans women, our two-spirited people, our LGBTQIA people are important. We are each a gift from the Creator, and we are each to be honored and respected. And so tonight I ask you, as you sit with us and you hear the names of those who have experienced violence and lost their lives to violence, I ask that you have these hard, difficult conversations with your family, with your children, with your grandchildren, with your partners, with your friends, with your colleagues, that we must stop this violence with each other. We must not have women afraid to walk along the street, have our 2S LGBTQ people fearful of going out in public. This is something that we're in 2020. This should have stopped a long time ago, but the violence that our people experience is way out of control, and we need to bring awareness to that and to support each other and speak out against violence in all its forms, whether it be emotional violence or physical violence or intellectual violence or spiritual violence. We must stand together as one large community and support each other and be kind to each other, and to not have this happen to another person. So at this time, I'd like you to make sure that you have a support system in place for yourself, that you have a method that you can comfort yourself after tonight, should you be triggered by any of the words or images that you may see tonight. And if you don't have a support system, I would ask that if you can, go outside and lean up against a tree and let that tree help take those feelings of stress or feelings of anger, feelings of sadness from you deep down into our Mother the Earth, and ask her to send up that healing to you and that sense of well-being. So as we carry on tonight, we know that women will not forget. Women will remember those who have gone on before them and suffered under this violence and still continue to suffer this day. So thank you very much for having me come. We want to acknowledge that we are on the territories of Mississaugas of Credit First Nation, the Haudenosaunee people, the Huron-Wendat, and all those nations that came here and were welcomed. And for the rest of the people that have come here, please remember you are guests to this land. It is also your responsibility as a treaty partner to take care of the land and the people and the resources and all that the earth contains for us. So join with us now. I'm going to turn the next part over to Shirley, and Shirley will take over the next part of this event. So be well, everyone, and be kind and gentle to each other. Thank you very much.
Welcome. We are Women Won't Forget, and I want to begin this vigil by stating that the land that we are standing on today is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. In 1989, on December 6th, at 6 p.m., a gunman walked into L'École Polytechnique and began to hunt down and slaughter women. In the end, 36 were injured and 14 women were killed. Since that time, we have seen no fewer numbers of tombstones that we put on the hill at Philosopher's Walk. The violence against women has continued unabated. More recently, the only mass shooting that was larger in Canadian history than the Montreal Massacre was the Nova Scotia shooting, where a misogynist went on a shooting spree that began with his attacks against his partner. For years, His female neighbors had contacted the police about this violence and abuse against his partner, and they had done nothing. Some of these women even moved because they were terrified that that violence would come home to them. We have continued to see the exploitation and murder of Indigenous women at a horrific rate in this country. This violence, this intersection of racism and misogyny that is targeted against women and girls in Indigenous communities at a rate that can only be called a genocide. There's also disproportionate violence against Black women and women of color, and lower rates to justice in our justice system. And it's not only the tombstones that we are putting on the Hill, it's also many of us, so many women around you, women that you don't know, that you're not aware of, are living with the trauma from what they've experienced. And many of us are living with ongoing damage to our bodies that has been done, and that continues to deteriorate and leads to chronic pain and other disabilities. I want us to remain hopeful because hope is the only thing that we have. I'm glad to hear that finally, after all these years of us calling for this, for violence against women to be seen as a form of terrorism, that there has been a case of incel terrorism, which is men who feel that they are entitled to women's bodies and women's lives. That recognized by the RCMP, at least in one case. And we've got to keep working. I work with women all the time who have experienced different forms of violence. And from every age, from young women to women in their 80s who have had a whole lifetime of violence. And that's what gives me hope, is that any time that you can reach out and help another woman, each time that you can listen without judgment and care, every time that you give support, you're giving hope. And that hope that we give to each other is what will keep us going. I want to live to see the day when we don't have any tombstones on that hill. And I hope that I will. Now I would like to introduce an amazing survivor, Lisa.
Today is December 6th, and it's a trigger day for me and so many other people. It's a day of mourning. We mourn the deaths of the 14 women who died in the Montreal massacre in 1989, and we now mourn the deaths of countless more women and children. 17 years ago, I spoke at the Women Won't Forget Vigil, but to be honest, I don't remember much, except being frantic, in a frantic state, because at the last minute, I had been put in a bind for childcare so that I can participate in the vigil. I had to choose having my 2 younger children or my toddler to be looked after. I chose to bring my toddler to the vigil with me. All I remember is saying, please support abused women and do it with a willing heart. And never hesitate to get involved. It may save her life. 20 years ago, people saved my life because they got involved. They helped show me a way to make the tough decision to leave my abusive marriage and go to a women's shelter with my 2 young children and my newborn. I remember the legitimate fear and the thought of being killed or killing in self-defense. I thought to myself, this won't be good for my children. They will be without parents. It's my duty to protect them. With the help of healthcare professionals and my friend Shirley and my adopted mother, we made a plan for myself and the children to leave. I went to my adopted mom's home first for a few days until the beds at the shelter were available. I give thanks that I live in Canada and that we have resources. However, with each passing year, these resources are getting more and more stretched. I want to take time and mention the power and control wheel. It is a diagram that lists the different types of abuse. Unfortunately, I was a victim of them all. For example, coercion and threats, intimidation, emotional abuse, isolation, minimizing, denying, and blaming, using children, economic abuse, and male privilege, and physical and sexual abuse. You can find this chart on Google, and it's called the power and control wheel. If any of you see that you're in one of those sections, please get help immediately. You can go to the Women Won't Forget website and contact them for further assistance, or on their Facebook page. If anything does apply, please don't feel bad or guilty. It's not your fault. Please don't take ownership for someone else's actions. I had to learn to forgive myself. Just as we show compassion to others, we must show ourselves that same compassion and forgiveness. Why I accepted this opportunity to speak again is to help others and let you know you're not alone. You are worthy of having healthy relationships. You are valued as a human being, and your human rights matter. That's why I employ all of us to be active and mindful in the leaders that we vote for. We need to ensure that women's rights are always protected. Our stories and voices need to be heard and remembered. It may save a life. Also, remember your why. My why was my children when I was considering to leave. So please remember your why. It might be because your well-being matters and you're loved. Thank you for hearing me out. And here is Janet. She's going to be performing a special song for us this evening.
And if women do not get the freedom that they need in this life, this whole planet is in peril. I wanted to share with you a song that I did with a group of women at a workshop. There were several of them, but 8 of them helped me write a song. And it was really a joy to me to be with them, their positive energy, even though the subject is a little bit on the dark side. The song is called Cry Out. And let me just set up my drum machine here. Some broken hearts never mend, tears rolling down my face. I wish I didn't remember, but I can't forget. Cry out, cry if you want to, feel free to cry. Cry out, cry if you want to, feel free to cry. Cry out, cry out, cry out. If only I could turn the hands of time back to save the love in my heart, then I won't have to cry from this broken-hearted crime. Cry, cry, cry if you want to. Feel free to cry. Cry, cry, cry if you want to. It's okay to cry. Cry out. I cry all the time. I cry all the time. But I will smile again. I'll smile, but no, not now. Cry, cry, cry if you want to. It's okay to cry. Cry, cry, cry if you need to. Feel free to cry. Cry, cry, cry if you want to. It's okay to cry. Cry, cry, cry if you want to. It's okay to cry. Cry out. Cry out. Cry out. Cry out. Cry out. So that's song number 1. The next song I'm going to do for you, though, we have to get past the crying, too, and on to the work that has to be done. And there's so much work that has to be done on this planet. Okay. Just setting up that machine for the next song. And just being here is part of you, realizing that. And being part of that healing that this planet needs and what it's going to take. And it's going to take all of us, and it's going to take our strength. So this song is actually called The Strength. I am so confused. Hold that thought. I forgot to put the little machine on it. I so much want to play with the drum machine. There we go. I am so confused. Our world is being abused. It's hard to find just what you need. When I look around, it always seems that someone else has something on me. But we believe in the right to be. We must all be free. And if you feel the same as me, we'll find the strength to carry on. Walk these city streets, tell me what you see. People rushing by, so alone. How can I forget? For soon we'll know if hearts and minds will explode. But we believe in the right to be. We must all be free. And if you feel the same as me, we'll find the strength to carry on. Oh, 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 And if you feel the same as me, we'll find the strength to carry on. We'll find the strength to carry on. We'll find the strength to carry on. And now we will move on to the next segment of our program for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. We are now going to name the names of the women who were killed this year in Ontario. We're going to mention each one individually so that we may honor their lives. There are over 40 people to name tonight, so please be patient. At the end of naming each woman, we will have a moment of silence, followed by a collective scream. Ashley Noel Arzaga, 24. Ashley was a loving mom of a 5-year-old daughter, a loving sister, a cousin, and a friend. She was stabbed at a spa that provided massages. A 17-year-old male was charged with first-degree murder. In October, it was announced that this murder was now being treated as an act of terrorism, after investigators determined that it was allegedly inspired by the misogynistic incel ideology. This is the first time. Catherine Ambrose, 63. Catherine will be remembered as a wonderful mother and wife. She'll be missed dearly by her friends, family, and the rest of the Hamilton community. Her 30-year-old son was charged with second-degree murder and aggravated assault. Amy Hager, 20. Amy will be fondly remembered by her classmates, friends, and family as a beautiful, kind soul that was taken too soon. Her 39-year-old boyfriend was charged with second-degree murder. Sharanjeet Kaur, 27, of Brampton. Sharanjeet was a highly educated web developer. She obtained a master's degree in digital multimedia from Humber College in 2017. A friend of hers had reported her missing earlier in the day, and then she was found deceased. Her 35-year-old ex-boyfriend killed her and then himself at the time of the crime. Jane Doe, 69, from Sarnia. She will continue to be remembered by her community as her loved ones and family will cherish her memory. A man, 42, has been charged with second-degree murder. Maryanne Blandizzi, 41, of Toronto. Friends remember Maryanne as an amazing person who would do anything for anyone. She had a heart of gold. She worked as an assistant to a paralegal and loved her dog. She died after being stabbed multiple times. A 21-year-old male has been charged with second-degree murder. Teresa Santos, 75, of Toronto. Teresa was a disabled woman who was found in her home after neighbors expressed concern. She will be remembered as a dear friend to many. A 40-year-old male was charged with second-degree murder. Belynda Kerelchuk, 50, of Mississauga. Belynda was a proud mother of 2 children. She was also an appreciated daughter, stepdaughter, cousin, granddaughter, niece, and aunt. She was the vice president of Aon Benfield, where colleagues found her great to work with. She was also a talented figure skater. Her 53-year-old husband was charged with second-degree murder. Judy Neddo, 75, of Temiskaming Shores. Judy was a generous, nurturing, and empathetic woman who loved spending time with her in her flower garden or taking care of her family and her home. She will be dearly missed by her 3 daughters and 6 grandchildren. Her 77-year-old husband killed Judy and then himself. Heeral Patel, 28, of Brampton. Heeral will be remembered as a hard-working personal support worker who was known for her commitment to her job. She also worked part-time at Tim Hortons and was studying nursing at Ryerson. She will be missed dearly by her friends and family, as well as her co-workers. A first-degree murder charge was planned for her ex-husband, who was later found dead. Genesis Young, 17, of Sauble Beach. Genesis was described as being very energetic, a very hard worker who had several jobs in the community. She died in a fire in a playhouse. An 18-year-old man has been charged with manslaughter, criminal negligence causing death, and arson. Dorothy Brown, 72, of Dryden. Dorothy was a community-minded person who loved being a wife and mother. She died from injuries sustained after an assault at her home. A 36-year-old Dryden man has been charged with second-degree murder in relation to her death. Rhonda Homzombath, 25, of Hamilton. Rhonda was a mother of an 8-year-old daughter. She was full of life, loving, and caring. She had many plans for herself and for her daughter. She was caught by stray gunfire while attending a memorial celebration for a murder victim. Male suspects have not yet been arrested. Jane Doe, 60, of St. Catharines. She will be remembered as a very nice and welcoming woman in her community. A publication ban is in effect and her identity remains confidential. A 60-year-old man living in the same residence was charged with first-degree murder. Yvonne Bachelor-Vassell, 61, of Etobicoke. Yvonne's caring attitude was demonstrated through her work as an addictions and mental health nurse. Her second job was being a single mom. She will be missed by her friends and family. Her 24-year-old son was charged with first-degree murder and arson.
Tejas Tackle, 31 years old, Toronto, Ontario. Tejas was known in her community as a hard worker with a kind heart. She worked as a bartender. She was seen arguing with a man when she was fatally stabbed. A 36-year-old male, reported to be her boyfriend, has been charged with first-degree murder. Friends state he hated the fact that she was a bartender. Iva Barcelos, 59 years old, Etobicoke, Ontario. Iva took great pride in raising her 5 children and keeping her home so clean you could eat off the floor. She is described as an angel. She never had hate in her heart, even if someone wronged her. Her 28-year-old son has been connected to her femicide. Jane Doe, 45, Belleville, Ontario. Jane will continue to be remembered by family, friends, and her community. A 24-year-old male has been charged with second-degree murder. Margaret Cameron, 66, Toronto, Ontario. Margaret will be remembered by family and friends. She was found in an elevator in an apartment building. A 49-year-old male who was known to her has been charged with first-degree murder. Margaret Nishikawara, 95 years old, Toronto, Ontario. Margaret was a mother and a grandmother. She will be missed by friends and family who knew her as a gentle soul who loved art and cooking. Her 66-year-old son has been charged with second-degree murder. Cara Cochrane, 37, Kingston, Ontario. Cara will be remembered by family, friends, and co-workers as having a beautiful soul filled with sunshine and a heart bursting with love. She will be dearly missed by her family, her co-workers, her parents, her sister, and her 4-year-old son. Her ex-boyfriend, 35 years old, has been charged with assault and assault causing bodily harm. Helen Sedo, 61 years old, Aurora, Ontario. Helen was a wonderful mother and a friend. Her son and friends will miss her dearly. She was semi-retired and spent her time gardening and cooking. She also worked freelance as a project manager. Originally thought of as missing, her burned out car was found by the roadside. Her 61-year-old husband has been charged with second-degree murder. Sarah Marie Thwaites, 29 years old, Sarnia, Ontario. Sarah will be remembered by family and friends as a kind-hearted person. She will be especially missed by her twin boys, who were the light of her world. She died from injuries sustained by what police say was a vicious assault. A 34-year-old male acquaintance has been charged with first-degree murder. Keira Kagan, 4 years old, Milton, Ontario. Keira was a young child taken far too soon. She will be dearly missed by her mother. Keira's mother said that she owned a shirt that read, "I'm going to change the world." Keira was killed by her 35-year-old father in a murder-suicide.
Julie Berman, 51 years old. Julie will be remembered by her friends as an outspoken advocate for transgender rights and a strong voice against the violence that impacted her community. Berman died of blunt impact trauma to her head that investigators believe was caused by a weapon. A 27-year-old male has been charged with second-degree murder. Hang-Kam Annie Chu, 64 years old. Hang-Kam Annie will be remembered by the entire community, friends, and family as someone who helped others. She was fatally struck by a hammer in February. She was planning to retire in September. A 30-year-old male was charged with first-degree murder terrorist activity. Audrey Hopkinson, 33 years old. Audrey was a loving mother of her 2 children who would do anything for them. She was a dedicated nurse and loyal friend who always put others before herself. Audrey was pregnant at the time of the shooting. Her 44-year-old boyfriend turned the gun on himself after killing Audrey. Maryna Kudzianiuk, 49 years old. Maryna will be remembered by her friends and family as a most caring and loving individual. She was like a second mother to many and a very kind person who was always quick to help anyone in need. She was found with serious injuries when emergency services were called to a fire in an apartment. She later died from her injuries. A 37-year-old male was charged with first-degree murder. Adelaide Traynor, 15 years old. Adelaide will be remembered as a firecracker and flower wrapped into one. She was known to radiate joy wherever she went. She was killed in her home along with her father and two brothers by a male relative. Her mother and brother survived. She will be deeply missed by her numerous friends and family. Kayleigh Ivall, 14 years old. Kayleigh was described as having a big heart, only seeing the best in people, never their flaws. She loved music and the visual arts. She was also a gifted singer and a natural storyteller. Her body was found in a wooded area. A 21-year-old male and 14-year-old female have been charged with her death. Tammy Stuart, 29 years old. Tammy was a beloved mother to her young son. She will be deeply missed by her family, extended family, and friends. Information about the perpetrator and charges laid have not been reported. Shannon MacDougall, 37 years old. Shannon MacDougall was found dead in a home in Brantford on March 11, 2020 by police who were performing a well-being check because she had not been seen or heard from. On November 30th, it was announced that her death was being treated as a homicide due to the fact that the manner of her death was not random. No arrests have been made.
Darian Haley Henderson-Bellman, 25 years old, of Brampton, Ontario. Darian was a beautiful, big-hearted person who cared greatly about other people. Her 27-year-old boyfriend has been charged with second-degree murder. He was out on bail for weapons-related charges. Some high-profile people are demanding changes to weapons-related bail. If changes are made, it is believed the law should be called Darian's Law. Manuela-Correia, 61, of Brampton, Ontario. An elderly woman, she was found dead in a Brampton house after a fire was extinguished. A 34-year-old man has been taken into custody. Karen Gottschalk-Millar, 63, of Ottawa, Ontario. Karen will be remembered in her community of North Grenville as a valued and respected not-for-profit home worker, supporting people with brain injuries, mental health, and behavioral challenges. She embraced opportunities for fun and laughter. A 32-year-old resident of the home has been charged with second-degree murder. Giulia Matthews, 54, of Toronto. Giulia will be remembered by her family, friends, and neighbors as someone who extended kindness and compassion to everyone. She was found when police were called to do a wellness check. It is believed she was deceased in her home for 2 months before she was found. Her 17-year-old son has been charged with second-degree murder. Theepa Seevaratnam, 39, of Scarborough, Ontario. Theepa was a proud Indo-Canadian who will be remembered lovingly by her family and friends. She was one of 2 women shot in a home and later succumbed to her injuries. 3 males, aged 27, 29, and 42 are facing first-degree murder, conspiracy to commit murder, and attempted murder charges. Marianne Wallace, 81, of Mississauga, Ontario. Marianne was deeply loved. She was found by a care provider in her home. Very few details have been released. Her 86-year-old husband was charged with first-degree murder. Sangita Sharma, 56, of Brampton, Ontario. Sangita will be missed dearly by those whose lives she touched. She was a pharmacist and known to all as hardworking and a great woman. She was found in the garage of a Brampton home with a fatal gunshot wound. 2 suspects have been identified. However, no arrests have been made. Myah Larmond, 17, of Hamilton, Ontario. Myah was a high school student in Hamilton. She was fatally shot at a late night party. Although the shooting was not intentional, police stated it was also not considered accidental. A 21-year-old male was charged with manslaughter. Arlene Wapoose, 26, of Fort Hope, Ontario. Arlene will be remembered as a loving mother to her 3 children and as a loving spirit to her loved ones. Her legacy will also continue to live on in the Anishinaabe-Esky Indigenous community of Fort Hope Reserve. A male youth has been charged with second-degree murder. Brittney Newman, 25, of Mississauga, Ontario. Brittney was the mother of 2 children, both under 6. She will be remembered as a caring and loving daughter and granddaughter who was beautiful inside and out. She was able to leave a volatile relationship 3 years earlier, and it is unclear how her 27-year-old ex-boyfriend re-entered her life. He has been charged with second-degree murder. Would you all please join me now in a moment of silence so that we may honor and remember all the women and girls who have died at the hands of partners. Okay, so now, would you all like to join me in a collective scream in rage that this is still happening in the year 2020? Everybody ready? And 3, 2, 1.
Ah!
Okay, I want to thank a number of people. I was expecting the PowerPoint to stay up. I want to thank Virginia and her organization, virtual Zoom event support by Virtual Hearings Canada. And there's Virginia's contact information. I'd also like to thank Varsity Arena, who have assisted us over the years, providing parking and providing the use of their space, where we had an installation this afternoon and this evening. And I'd also like to thank Ahmed Hassan, who is the composer of 14 Remembered. I would like to say to people that we're very appreciative of all those people who have offered to make donations, and we will put something up on our Facebook page about how you can make donations to support our work. And those of you who have emailed us, we will respond to you directly. Also wanted to let people know that if any women are interested in being part of the organizing of the vigil, please get in touch with us through our website or at our Facebook page. And I would also like to say, as Lisa said, that if you are experiencing violence or abuse, or if you're a survivor and you need to find resources, contact us again by reaching out to the website or to our Facebook page, and we can make referrals. Thank you very much.
Geneviève Bergeron, 21 ans. Colgan, 23 ans. Nathalie Croteau, 23 ans. Barbara Dagnan, 22 ans. Anne-Marie Edouard, 21 ans. Maud Haviernik, 29 ans. Barbara Maria Kluchnik, 31 ans. Maryse Laganière, 25 ans. Maryse Leclerc, 27 ans. Sonia Pelletier, 28 ans,